Hello again. So in this last video about the growth strategy planner, we are talking about the wish list. So this is really my favorite part of the whole thing because this is where you can dump all of the amazing ideas that you have, that the client has, that people on your team have. You know, it's just a free for all in terms of things to potentially tackle next. And just like with the issues list, the thing that makes this so successful is that the wish list is not the to-do list. The to-do list is the dashboard. That's really focused on the next thing. Everything that you're doing is being kept really closely in line with those metrics, with those SMART goals, with those priorities, with that overarching current goal. It's all aligned. But here you can just go crazy. And I think that this is really, really important to have because those amazing ideas that come up, you want somewhere to put them. You want a place you can dump them without thinking about it too hard so that they can continue to come up, so that you can continue to feel motivated and excited. For a client, right? So they have a place to put all of this stuff that's going through their head and feel like they are being heard. It is going somewhere. It is going to be considered. Now, the trick is, though, is that this really becomes your buffet. When the time comes to figure out what the next thing is, to move on to the next goal, to move on sometimes even to the next action or priority, if you've gotten where you wanted to go in what you are working on, this is where you come choose from many different options. And you don't always have to pick stuff that's on the wish list, but it has those amazing ideas there so that you don't have to do the brainstorming all over again every time. And that process also allows you to kind of hit the brakes when you feel, if you're anything like me, then you might feel tempted to do this yourself. Often it's a client who's kind of taking you in this direction, but we won't examine that too closely. This helps you put the brakes on that. This lets you see, okay, it's there. If it really is that amazing of an idea, then it will naturally work its way into your strategy as you move along. Because when you look at it, you're going to be like, yeah, that fits into the current priority, the goal, the next thing as you need it. But a lot of the time, this is really maybe a consider later list or a someday maybe list. And not everything and not even most things are going to make their way onto the do next. So you might be asking, how often do I look at this? What happens if it gets messy? How do I organize it and contain it? And to that I respond, look at it regularly, but not too regularly. So as I've mentioned in the past, I recommend setting up kind of like buckets of time that you give yourself as constraints to work within, right? Some people do this in kind of 2-week sprints. Some people do this in quarterly, like 12-week year, 90-day year kind of considerations. We like to work in quarters. That works really well for us. And we do kind of look at, we set like a theme for the month for our content and stuff. So we look at this at the end of every quarter, basically, or as needed. If it gets too out of hand, you can organize it into kind of do next, consider later, and someday maybe. And the do next should all really have to do with what you're currently working on. Either, the projects you're currently working on, a different part of the funnel that correlates to a different goal, just so you can see it there and kind of see it organized. Or potentially, it could really just be the next visibility action that you might be considering if, say, your current overarching goal is visibility. But I will say this, don't overthink it. Just dump, let it be, and then at those marked periods where you're doing your kind of review and look ahead that you have set for your strategy, pull these out, organize them, dust them off, see whether some of them actually got done. Some of them might be irrelevant. Some of them you might want to talk about further, and give yourself and potentially the client the space to talk about which ones you may do next or why you're not actually going to do some of them next if, they're not fitting into that goal and that strategy. Anyway, hope this helps. Go crazy. Have fun with this section. I really encourage you to. And as always, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day.